not Theodore Roosevelt? Well, in his book, which is called The History of America or something by Theodore Roosevelt, he gives, at various pages, he gives the banking system in Wall Street a serve. By that I mean he criticises them and says they're causing a lot of economic trouble. And we do have a problem with banking. In this last 5 or 10 years, if you're careful on the internet and look, you will find huge banking corporations and Wall Street firms being fined millions and millions of dollars for deceiving the public, for cheating, for lying, for getting money, often they don't let the thing finish in court. They're sued in the court by some government department, that's overseeing them, and they then put up an offer that they'll pay so many million or billion in order to save expensive weeks and months of court cases. And we have another case here in Australia as well. Even the very day after they were exposed in the news media as having to pay this huge sum into court, they were still being quoted in the, at the end of the news they sometimes have an economic summary. You have the Commonwealth Bank, and you have this Macquarie, and you have this. And Morgan Company was also, the representative was up there speaking. How can you accept that this is reasonable? Truth is that fractional reserve banking, the word fractional gives you the key. They know that if a bank can hold about 10% of the amount in cash in their vaults, they can lend 9 or 10 times that out as checkbook money, or in these days it's like credit card money. So these people have discovered that, telling us a good truth, and the fractional reserve system is definitely adding, what it does, it adds costs to everything, because whenever a young businessman or a young woman setting up a hairdressing salon, if she needs to borrow money for the equipment, if she borrows that from the bank, of course, will want interest. But the reality is the bank, it didn't cost them anything to just tell her, right, you've got a $10,000 loan. So she goes out, buys this, buys that, and hires some staff and starts paying them. And when you start a business like that, for the first few weeks or months, you're paying people really just to stand around, have cups of coffee, because the clients aren't coming in very much. As your business builds up, of course, it's different. So the reality is they're charging interest on something that they didn't really lend you. But the fractional reserve question that you just raised, for prudence, banks are very sensible not to just go on wildly lending in all directions until if there's a run on the bank, then they're finished. In past centuries, when there's been runs on the bank, sensible governments have taken some action to stop the banks going bankrupt. And there's a lot of sense in that. Some of them has been this simple, I think in Australia somewhere, a certain bank was said to be insolvent, people were queuing up down the streets back in colonial times, or perhaps just the last century. And so the bank, the government treasury of the state concerned, people saw that heavy boxes being brought out by strong workmen, loaded on a cart or a truck or whatever the vehicle was of the day. These heavy boxes were driven along to the bank, and they were taken into the bank vault, and the queue started to get less and less. Oh, the government treasuries put them lots of money there. They thought, they weren't really told this. The reality was, of course, it was just a fake.
Just lead. A stunt, was it? Just to make
it was just lead, not gold. But the main thing was, when the queues dropped down, all the people who draw their money out of the bank say the bank's going to fail. After a week or two or a month or two, they realised, what am I going to do with this money? Under the mattress. So they finally all drift back, if not to that bank, to other banks. So it's the banking system as a whole. It just needs enough notes and coins to keep it so that if somebody walks in and says, I want 300, I want 1,000, they can just dish out 1,000, off you go. Not realising it's all really fairy tale money, and the government money, of course, is just fairy tale money too.